But let me begin by commending the work of Albin Kurti. He is one of those politicians that believes in what he preaches, and then when he takes on power, as he did democratically in his country, he worked hard and has been working hard to implement what he believes. So it is definitely necessary to commend the work he has done for transparency, for fighting corruption, the rule of law, building on democratic principles, which, as he said, and I cannot but agree with him, is important both for economic progress, but of course is very important in the process we are in, the moving towards membership in the Council of Europe and finally in the European Union. I had the honor of tabling a report on the Western Balkans only 2 weeks ago in the Council of Europe, and this, of course, was key to what needs to be done in the region. And, the European dream that we have in the Balkans, and I'm including all of us and Greece, of course, not just the Western Balkans, is not simply a dream of growth and prosperity, but it is one of peaceful coexistence in a very diverse, ethnically, religiously area, where we would like to see this diversity as something beautiful and not something to fear. But insecurity over the centuries and decades often pushed us, put different groups and different countries and different ethnic or religious groups towards looking towards a big brother powers that usually would supposedly be there to support us, to protect us, but then we became victims of proxy wars in the geopolitical fight of the greater powers. That's why Europe was the dream to establish rule of law, respect of human rights, good neighborly relations, respect of the sovereignty and integrity of our nations, and of course, democratic values. And that, in fact, means security for all. What I think is important is to see that democratic values is security. And of course, it is linked to peace, as was said by Albin earlier. Both the example of former Yugoslavia, and where authoritarianism was part and parcel of the war, but also, of course, today, the horrible war and invasion by Russia of Ukraine shows when you do not have democratic rule, you do not have very often peaceful resolution of differences. And of course, the Balkans are a target of the new geopolitical rivalry that's developing in this world. And that's why it is even of greater importance to see how we can support the accession of the region to the European Union. It's been 20 years since the Thessaloniki Declaration, where I was then foreign minister. It's been a long time, and the shine of Europe has been waning. We need to reward countries when they do make progress. I think the North Macedonia was a blow when it was not given the status of the accession, opening the accession talks. And of course, now things are moving ahead. But, and of course, Europe has seen now the accession process as more important after the war in Ukraine. This has given a new impetus, but we need definitely to create a more new impetus. And here I want to make a point about Europe. It is, in fact, an existential question for us in Europe, where we want Europe to go. There are some very big issues in this, as you said, Alistair, earlier, the geopolitical rivalry, and Europe must play an important role. But that also means that we need to see how we can work together more closely. I always have believed that our capacity is much more, we are much stronger than we often understand ourselves in Europe. When we unite, we can be very effective. Martin Schulz, when he was president of the European Parliament, was very supportive of Greece during the financial crisis, but it took quite a while for the European Union to understand that we could actually tame the markets until Draghi came in to say whatever it takes. But then, of course, during COVID, we have seen that unified action was very important, and it will be important, of course, now in the areas of energy and the just transition to a green energy and renewable energy economy and society. This, of course, is absolutely important, not only for the lives of our citizens, but it is also very important to break the dependency we have, not only generally on gas and oil, but also on Russia in this particular case. So we need to show the political will for the region. I think that is one of the basic conclusions I have had in my report, but most would agree with it, with this and in this new geopolitical situation. As for the region itself, we need not only incentives, but we need the internal political will, such as Albin has been showing. Political will for change and change for the better. We need to show that there is a ownership of this process. This is not change imposed from outside. This is change because we want better societies. We want more just societies. We want more transparent societies. We want investors, as Albin said, to come and believe that there is rule of law in the countries they invest, so that they can be sure that things will work as they can plan, and not depending on the whims and the will of some high up in the bureaucracy or some oligarchs, local oligarchs, who may want to play games with the investors that come in. That's why the change needs to be owned by ourselves, but it is not easy, as over the years there have been established powers that have grown and who do not want change. That is why Europe can be very important to help those who really want to reform in the region to be supported. But I also want to add that this is something which we need to do amongst ourselves also in the region, Western Balkans, but I would say more widely in the Balkans. Our regional cooperation can be of great support to those leaders who really are moving forward in the process of changing, of reforming, and moving towards the European Union. And there are many forms of regional cooperation. I know they're not always easy. There is the Open Balkans, which I know is difficult for Kosovo. There's the Berlin process. There are other forms too. However, I would put my support in finding ways of working together, because this will be, first of all, very important to support each other in our reform process. Secondly, there will be benefits, financial and others, economic benefits for our countries and our citizens. It is also a way to slowly but surely overcome conflict and bring in dialogue and understanding after very, very difficult times in our region. A final point, we have the new European political community, which has been established, important for geopolitical reasons. However, I do want to be clear, this cannot substitute for the accession process. Therefore, I think we need, first of all, more systematic meetings at the summit level between the European Union and the Western Balkans to assess progress and help move the accession process along. Secondly, we need to integrate the Western Balkans into EU activities in areas where the Western Balkans have made progress, or in areas which we feel the Western Balkans can participate in a positive way. Let me just give you one simple, understandable example, that of health. Initially, the European Union did not see the Western Balkans during COVID as part and parcel of this process. Later on, there was solidarity towards the Western Balkans, but I would say, why not bring in the Western Balkans into the institutions in certain areas, such as in the health area, where we can cooperate, where it's so important. And there are many other areas, of course, also. Finally, my best wishes to the work that the government of Kosovo is doing. I know that you have applied for the membership in the Council of Europe. recently we allowed not only observer status but also the right to speak in our assembly. Dora Bakoyani, head of the Greek delegation in the Council of Europe, is now working on a report for Kosovo, which I'm sure will be very important towards the accession of Kosovo in the Council of Europe. Thank you very much, and again, congratulations, Alban, for all your work.